First story is titled, Update. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my half-brother to have the same name as me? Original story. This is a really weird question, but for some reason it's turned into a whole issue. When I, 16 male, was born, my parents named me Giuseppe after my grandpa on my mom's side. My parents divorced when I was 5, but my mom got sick when I was 12 and passed away a year later, so I had to go live full-time with my dad. 2 years ago, my dad started dating Kaylee until they got married. I'm not close with Kaylee, but that's not because we don't like each other. We just don't talk a lot, and I'm always staying with my grandma or uncle on my mom's side when I'm not at my dad's. They found out they're pregnant months ago and also learned it's a boy. Ever since, Kaylee keeps saying she also wants her son to be named Giuseppe because she likes the name so much and how it sounds. I straight up told her that's my name and would be weird having my half-brother having the exact same name as me. Kaylee said it wasn't weird at all, and I don't own the name, so I can't say it's mine. She seemed really mad that I called it weird and said I should get used to it because that's the name they're deciding on. My dad backed her up at first, but we talked a little more. I just told him it did feel right for us two to have the exact same name, and maybe that could be a middle name or something if she likes it so much. He talked to Kaylee about changing it as a middle name so the first name can be something else, but she just got more mad. Now she says I'm ruining this whole experience by making a big deal of her name. My dad is in the middle. He's willing to back me up and not let Kaylee name their baby that, but says I should just let it go. My uncle, Dad's brother, and some of my friends agree it's weird, but Kaylee's being super cold, so I don't know if I'm wrong here. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Personally, I find that really weird. I'm surprised your dad agreed to it at first. Dad only agreed because she's the one usually in charge and can withhold fun time. Not the a-hole, OP. That's just wrong, and I think the middle name would be fine, but should probably call him by the middle name then. Call me cynical and hardened to toxic families, but my worst assumption is she wants to replace this kid that she likes less with a new one by the same name. She's trying to cause a divide, and OP should keep making us think about it. Not the a-hole. That's weird as hell for two brothers to have the same name. Where is the baby's sense of identity when he literally has the same name as his brother? Where is his individuality? They did this to Vincent van Gogh, and it messed up his head. In the Netherlands, it was very common to reuse a name if a previous child was stillborn or died very young. Happened to my father-in-law, who got the name of a brother who deceased before he was born, 1943. Not the a-hole, obviously. If it were me, I would have said, I'm honored you would name your firstborn after me. I would be such a pretentious prig about it that she would no longer want to use the name. Yes, this is awesome. Maybe also double down, and since Opie's already so much older, pretend to muse aloud, I bet a lot of people will think he's really mine since it's named after me. So let's call him Junior in public. Now for the update 2 months later. My little brother was born last week, and I'm still the only Giuseppe in the family, and my grandpa. I did like some of you were saying to do, and had another talk with my dad to get him to understand. I'm glad everyone agreed it was super weird, and for bringing up that it could cause some identity issues in the future if we have the same name. Plus, the fact that it feels like she's trying to replace me and take a name away that she didn't even know about until she met me. My dad actually heard me this time, and he said he was sorry for not fully thinking about how this would make me feel. He listened more when I brought up the identity thing and how it could cause problems for us in the future, so thanks for mentioning that. But after that, he still wouldn't talk to Kaylee about changing her mind. My uncle, his brother, and his other family actually started giving him after I told them. They told him that's weird AF, and my uncle even told Kaylee too, which made her super mad. So after, my dad was like, okay, he's not gonna be named that at all. They had lots of fights over it because Kaylee wouldn't let it go. But my dad said there was no way in hell the baby was also gonna be named Giuseppe, and they were gonna have a big problem if she tries to name him that. Not gonna say it threatened to end things, cause I wasn't in the room when they had their fight, but it was pretty big the way he said it. So yeah, she gave up, but she was being super bitchy to me for a while. It was awkward, but whatever. I was just glad she stopped with the name thing. The name they gave my brother isn't close to mine at all. Anyways, it's really cute. My dad says he looks just like me when I was born. Gonna be boring until I can play with him in a few months. Lol. Kaylee's still being different, but she doesn't say anything when I'm holding my brother. He cries a lot, but I love him a lot, and happy he's not Giuseppe 2.0. I find it weird that your dad didn't talk to Kaylee after you spoke with him. He only talked to Kaylee after his family tore into him. He is a spineless partner. If he was spineless, he wouldn't have stepped up in the end. I agree it didn't start well, but I think it didn't give thought to how big of a deal it actually was. Yes, very, very dense, I agree. But he did in the end put his foot down, and that is notable. Being spineless would have been bringing it up and then dropping it when she pushed back. If he was spineless, he would have 2 sons named Giuseppe. Give him a little credit. That sounds promising. Has anyone actually seen the birth certificate though? I'm not sure I'd put it past Kaylee just naming him Giuseppe anyway. Lol, yeah, my dad was there when they filled out the forms. This is a missed opportunity for you to go by OG, original Giuseppe, after your brother was born. I'd rather be the OG, only Giuseppe. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for yelling at my mother-in-law for calling my son the wrong name? Even before my wife and I started to think about kids, her mother has wanted us to name a son after her father. Let's say the name is Sherman. It's not actually Sherman, but think of something equally generational, or old-fashioned perhaps. The important thing is, from day one, I have absolutely hated the name. At the end of 2020, my wife and I welcomed the baby boy to the world. Hooray! But since the day we announced the gender, her mother ramped up the Sherman campaign. You might even say it was to the point of scorched earth. Luckily, my wife and I gave each other 10 no questions asked rejects when it came to names. Obviously, Sherman was the first to go. Ultimately, we named our son something we both really liked. Let's say his name is Alexander. Over the past 3 months, my mother-in-law has been a constant presence. In the beginning, that was a really nice thing. Having an extra pair of hands was a godsend when the wife was waking up every hour to breastfeed and I was doing laundry, bottles, and 5S'ing on a never-ending loop. And frankly, it continues to help. She makes us dinner, she takes care of the baby, etc. But you can probably guess where the story is going. With increasing frequency over the last few weeks, she's taking to calling our son Sherm or Lil Sherm. She never calls him Alexander or Alex. The first dozen times I let it slide. The next dozen times it started to grate on me. The next dozen times, I started to remind her to call him by the right name in a joking way. The next dozen times, I reminded her in a matter-of-fact way to call him the right name. All throughout, I've told the wife about my building annoyance. We have a tacit agreement that we would handle our own families. She said she would talk to her mother about it. To be honest, I don't know when she did or how forceful she was, but clearly nothing had changed. Today I blew up at my mother-in-law. I told her how disrespectful it was to me and Alex that she continued to call him by the wrong name. That I didn't want him to be confused about his actual name. That she should call him by his real name or not come by anymore. She didn't really say much in response. I think she said something about how she's just been trying to help. She got her things, said bye to my wife, and left. My wife thinks I'm overreacting. She says it's just a nickname, no different from buddy or pal. Now she's especially upset because there's more stuff for the two of us to do. She hasn't said outright that I should apologize or anything, but I feel like she wants me to. Ultimately, I feel bad that I put my wife in this situation given she's still recovering, and maybe it really wasn't that big a deal. But I also don't feel bad making myself clear to someone who clearly is disregarding my wishes in my own house with my child. So I guess, am I the a-hole? To my wife, for not just sucking it up given all the help her mother has provided and might continue to provide? Edit. Many of you are asking why I didn't correct her from the get-go. I don't know how many of you have had kids, but in those first weeks when adjusting to new fatherhood, getting barely any sleep, and more worried about doing the right thing for baby, this honestly didn't even register. Even now, looking back, those first weeks were like a brain fog. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your son has the right to be referred to by his name. Pick a random name and start calling your mother-in-law that. Let's see how she likes it. Hi Dave, how are you? This is brilliant. Not the a-hole. She's not respecting any of you. You've asked her to not do that, and she hasn't. She's doing it on purpose for her own reasons. Not the a-hole. You did what was right. Although you and your wife might have to deal with the after effect of not getting an extra hand. But at least you set things straight, not just in the name aspect but in other aspects that are yet to come. No gain without pain. Not the a-hole. Calling a child by a completely different name isn't really a nickname. What is she trying to accomplish with this? Sherman isn't his name. It will never be his name. Did she think if she used it enough he would respond to that over his actual name? Personally, I think you should have been more direct from the beginning of her using the incorrect name, but you definitely aren't the a-hole. I get why your wife is upset at losing mother-in-law's help, but she shouldn't have allowed her mother's behavior to get so bad in the first place. Also, your mother-in-law couldn't be your third sets of hands forever anyway. Seeing as she couldn't respect something as basic as the name you chose for your child, what makes you think she will respect your future decisions as parents? Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my parents we were adopting a child? I, 42 male, live with my wife, 40 female. We were married 12 years ago. My parents, my mother in particular, went out of their way to try and ruin it for us. My mother demanded an invite when my wife went dress shopping, then made fun of my wife when she tried on dresses and called one of the bridesmaids fat. My wife told her to leave. She tried to refuse, but one of the bridal attendants booted her out. She tried to post this long Facebook post about how awful she was treated, but she deleted it after I posted that it was funny how she left out, how she made fun of her and called one of her bridesmaids fat. My wife stonewalled her from any other wedding planning. My mother complained, but my wife just said she had a chance and she blew it. My mother hates that my wife won't be cowed by her like my sister-in-law is. My wife just doesn't get two flips about my mother or father or their boundary-stomping ways. My father gave a drunken speech at the wedding that was mortifyingly inappropriate and ended up getting himself and my equally drunk mother booted from the reception. We went so low contact it was practically non-existent after that. Present issue? We're in the final stages of adopting a child we've been fostering for the last few years. My parents have found out about this somehow and have been blowing up my phone since. They aren't happy about it. Not because I didn't tell them, but because how dare the child not be the same skin color as us. My father accused us of getting a black market baby. I just hang up the phone and block them. But our child, who we got as an older child in foster care, asked if he was causing us problems. I said absolutely not. My parents were just awful people. Now, they're having other family members contact us to try and get information from my parents who are spinning some tale about how we're denying them access to their grandchild. They're conveniently leaving out the part where they threw a fit who was a different color than us and accused us of getting him off the black market. When I tell people what actually happened, their tune changes usually, but my brother, their golden child, is up my about how much of a a-hole I'm being to our parents and how I need to stop letting my wife brainwash me against them. I told him to go crawl back up our parents' butt and blocked him. I don't think I'm the a-hole here at all, but my parents and brother and a couple other family members think I'm the a-hole for withholding information from them. Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. I was on your side within the first couple of sentences. Not the a-hole. Some people think that family is family and absolutely needs to be involved, when that is not the case. It is better to not have grandparents than have toxic ones. By the way, thank you so much for adopting an older child. As a kid that aged out of the foster system and had to join the army so that I had somewhere to live, most of us in the system knew that by the time we hit 7 to 8, we were stuck in the system until aging out. Good on y'all. It is better to have not grandparents than have toxic ones. Spot on. Family is what you make it. Live well, Opie. Enjoy your found family and the one you created. Not the a-hole. Here's the thing. When you act horribly and top it off by being racist, people will reasonably take steps to reduce unnecessary contact with you. Congratulations on the adoption. Currently not the a-hole. You would be the a-hole if you subjected your child to your parents, though. Your son should not have to go through life wondering why they're being treated differently from his or her cousins, and why grandma and grandpa make passive-aggressive remarks under their breath. Good luck. You and your wife are doing a wonderful thing in giving a child a home in the future. Not the a-hole. My sister is a different skin color than the rest of my family. My dad's stepdad is an awful human being and made several comments about it and made her feel less than. We no longer go to their home as a whole family and he is not allowed to talk to her. We had to explain that him being an a-hole is in no way her fault. It's his responsibility, and it's our responsibility as the people who love her to not subject her to racists and bigots. Especially if your kid is a teenager, please keep explaining that your family is awful and you adopted them to give them a family that loves them, not to subject them to more toxic people. Be prepared to cut your brother off too. Tell him, I know you disagree with my decision, but this is my child and I know what is best for them. If you can't agree to drop this and let me handle it the way I think is best, I will have to put our relationship on pause for the time being and hold firm to those boundaries. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.